Welcome, everyone, to Week 14 of AUDL action. Tonight, we've got the Chicago Wildfire visiting the Indianapolis AlleyCats. This is the first time the AlleyCats are seeing the Chicago Wildfire. The Cats are sitting at 3-7 on the year. As an organization, the Cats have never finished a season under 500. So tonight, we will see where the AlleyCats can take the rest of this season. Hello, everyone. I am Heath Shanahan, along with Blake Vanderbush and Alex Hutton. We are here and excited for another game. Alex, I want to talk to you a little bit. So I know you've talked to Coach Leonard from the AlleyCats a lot this year about some of the players that are being developed. Can you talk a little bit about what you guys talked about?
Sure, yeah, thanks. Well, first, thanks for having me. Always fun to be here. It's an exciting time, exciting thing to see Ultimate anytime you get to be out here. Just consistently, some of the things I keep hearing from them each time we talk before games is just a lot of improvement and pride from the team. You know that you talked about, the record kind of being the first time they've had an experience with this. But this is definitely not one of those teams that's just going to pack it in like you see even in a lot of other sports. They're going to be out there playing for pride and improvement. And one of the things you're going to be seeing tonight is sort of a young lineup, maybe not as experienced of a lineup, but one of the things he kind of filled me in on is they're going to really look to develop the roster because they want to keep a high percentage of players this year going into next year just to continue to build chemistry and consistency. So you're going to be seeing, again, a lot of guys out there tonight. Connor Henderson's going to be playing again. You got Heath Kalaba, Donovan Triplett. And so, some of those guys, along with John Wanger, they're going to be, seeing them with the mix of sort of the AlleyCat usuals. And so that's one of the things that we're going to hope to see tonight is a lot of great plays from a lot of young players.
Excellent. And Blake, now on the Chicago side, this is the first time the AlleyCats are seeing them. So, but if you are familiar with Chicago Ultimate, you're seeing a lot of different players than you would see historically out of the Chicago Ultimate scene.
Yeah, definitely. Chicago has a lot of new faces. They're missing some of their mainstays, guys like A.J. Nelson or Goose Helton or Bob Lou that you would always see high up on their throws and Ds and goals and assist lists because they were heavily involved in that. So a lot of new guys, not all guys from their prominent club team, Machine Ultimate. These are guys that are playing elsewhere, but Chicago is so big and so deep that they just have a lot of good players. Tonight, what I'm really focused on is watching Pavel Giannis and seeing where he goes, because I think where he takes the team is where the team will go. He's leading the team by far in assists and also in turnovers. So he's one of those gunslingers where he's going to put up the disc and have his athletes go and make plays, and if he's throwing well, then they can compete with any team. They've had a lot of close games and even a win against Pittsburgh earlier this year, and that was because Pavel was playing well. If he's not, then again, they can be blown out. They're a wide range of outcomes this year, so it'll be interesting to see how he does.
Absolutely, and it's a beautiful night for Ultimate. I'm looking over at the flags. They are blowing, but it looks like they're barely blowing. So we're very excited for another week of Ultimate here on Universe Point Productions. But we'll take a quick break. You're watching the Chicago Wildfire versus the Indianapolis AlleyCats on UniversePointProductions.com, presented by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance.
Cheap furniture. Nice game system. New job. Steady girlfriend. Wedding. Dog that serves as a practice child. Little kid. Little kids. Oh. Big kids. Big changes. So, once a year, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance checks to see if we're paying too much or covered too little.
Find an agent and stop knocking on wood.
We would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Today's broadcast is presented by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Find your local Marion County agent at infarmbureau.com. Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Stop knocking on wood. Today's broadcast is also brought to you in part by Health Zone Chiropractic. Enter the zone of peak performance and all-around great health. 5 Ultimate, supporting Ultimate from the end zone to the dance floor. Disc Store, offering the best service and best price on Ultimate gear guaranteed. BE Ultimate, Ultimate players making Ultimate gear for the Ultimate community. Layout Ultimate, the most durable Ultimate gloves. Layout Ultimate, what the pros wear. Indiana Ultimate Foundation, supporting Ultimate at all levels in the state of Indiana. And of course, the Indianapolis AlleyCats.
Hey,
Here comes the opening poll, brought to you by the Indiana Ultimate Foundation. The IUF's mission is to promote the growth and development of Ultimate at all levels in the state of Indiana. Learn more about the IUF at www.indianaultimatefoundation.com. All right, well, again, Chicago's going to be starting here on D. The AlleyCats are going to be receiving the pull, and we're going to be seeing Keenan Plew doing, looks like a good portion of the handling there for the AlleyCats. We know that they're missing Sam Sohn out for the rest of the season, and so he's going to be probably taking on, we'd imagine, a lot of the throws tonight, Blake.
Yep, and tonight it looks like there's not much wind. I don't think that's going to play a big factor, so most throws will be in the tool bag tonight, and anything can be used.
Yeah, so we're excited to see kind of what the Chicago D is going to be looking like here. We know that, again, they have some new starters, some people filling in for perhaps some injuries or various other things. So it's going to be an exciting game here. All right, so here we go. We're going to get started. The AlleyCats receiving the opening pull. Keenan Plew is going to be taking it. He's going to be centering it to Joey Carey, number 6 for the AlleyCats. AlleyCats going to be coming out in a traditional vert stack offense. Working it quickly up here near midfield. Everyone's been touching the disc so far. And there you go. Quick score from the AlleyCats. Just about everybody touched it, I think, on that one. In fact, yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone there, Rick Gross, Travis Carpenter, Cameron Brock, Spencer Loscar, Joey Carey, Keenan Plew all out there, Aaron Schwartz even on O. Everyone touched the disc, and then Rick Gross staying patient there, hit Spencer Loscar there for the first score of the game.
Yeah, they worked well along the break side there. It looked like it was a force forehand, and with that vertical stack, they were able to use that space over to the side of the stack and continue it down to the field all the way into the end zone. Excited to see some of these younger guys on this defensive line. Again, we talked about earlier the youth on this team and developing for the future, and the D-line is usually where you see some of those younger guys come out and make plays. So it'll be fun to watch that tonight. Yeah, we know, again, in Ultimate, if you can go out there and you can make some crazy plays on D, you're going to make a name for yourself pretty quickly. We got Jake Fella out there. He was a Callahan nominee for Purdue University here in Indiana. He's I think he's even trying out for the U24 team there and for USA. And I saw Ulti World giving him some love, saying he was making some plays for them. And I think maybe he got a hand on that over there. Yeah. Now that I mention it. Yeah. And that was Pavel Giannis with the attempted huck. But yeah, it looked like a point block from Jake Fella on that, and the AlleyCats will have it in good field position. All right, so the AlleyCats here are going to get it with an opportunity for an early break and able to go up 2.
kind of maybe I don't know, not necessarily a slow start, but it's an interesting feel here. The weather is maybe not as what we normally expect. We kind of wonder if that's going to – we normally talk about how the weather can play a role here, but maybe players are going to go out there a little bit more loose with their throws. We'll see. Again, working it up the break side, as you talked about. AlleyCats, Colin Ringwood now. There's Connor Henderson, one of the perhaps one of the youngest players on the team, getting, again, an opportunity tonight.
Yeah, that looked like a definite foul. Number 17 there for Chicago was just pulling on the back of Colin Ringwood's jersey. And
doesn't look happy about it
no,
either.
I don't think he's very happy.
That's, again, one of the, interesting things with, Ultimate here, especially in the AUDL with refs. You don't necessarily always see the calls in the cutting space, especially more in the handler space. Tight throw there from Levi Jacobs, but he hits John Jones. AlleyCats get a quick break, and they are up 2-0.
Great start for the AlleyCats. Unlike the last time they were playing against Detroit where they got down early, this is a much better start and should give them confidence going forward.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know, if it seems like certainly they put in effort there, but almost with relative ease there worked it up the field on those couple points there. So, but we obviously know that the AlleyCats have had their struggles with, as you said, consistently keeping that up throughout the game. So, kind of we're going to have to wait to see how that's going to play out. But, here and again, the first couple minutes, AlleyCats get a break. So, and then what they do is it seems like just about a new, fresh D-line they got out there. I think it's perhaps 7 new players on defense, maybe 5 or 6 at least.
Yeah, some fresh legs in here and it looks like a lot of the same guys for the Chicago offense. So you got fresh legs going against guys who just had to play a point.
All right, there. So that's Pavel Giannis. As you said, he's going to be touching the disc quite a bit expectedly tonight for the Wildfire. Working it up the line there, and the Wildfire on the board.
Yeah, a long strike there, and he was able to milk that at the end. It looked like he could have caught it probably 5 or 10 yards before he actually did, but there was no reason to since his defender was trailing the entire way.
Yeah, almost felt like somebody was going to make a play there, and perhaps it's kind of one of those things where you don't want to make a dangerous play there on the sideline.
Yeah, definitely.
So Jeff Zhao there gets the goal for the Wildfire, and again, sort of some quick points here.
We got the AlleyCats offense with a lot of their mainstays, Keenan Plew, Cameron Brock, Travis Carpenter, coming back out on offense. Again, I don't think they're going to do anything crazy tonight. The offense is usually fairly efficient.
Yeah, I think this is pretty much almost a standard O-line for them now. I think Cameron Brock, Aaron Schwartz, Spencer Loscar, Rick Gross, and Travis Carpenter have basically been their 5 cutters for like the last several weeks, I think.
Yep, and they're all really good, so...
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing is we know certainly the AUDL is filled with them, but maybe being here from around the Indy area ourselves, we know that those are 5 guys that can all make plays and are all hard to guard. So, again, the AlleyCats working it up here relatively quickly. Cameron Brock's going to put it for Rick Gross to make a play, and he does.
Yeah, that was a bit of a trust throw from Cameron Brock. He knew that when Rick Gross is going up against somebody, he usually wins those athletic battles, so he missed a little bit high there, but Rick Gross was able to make up for it, and it's a good throw because he knows that he's got the better athlete in that matchup.
Yeah. What we saw there in that highlight, talk about you saw Spencer Loscar there for the AlleyCats. He quickly hits Cameron Brock on the return. Talk about the importance of getting it back to your handlers.
Yeah, so in general, if you can get it to somebody moving up the field where their mark is trailing them and they have a view of the entire field, that's going to be advantageous. So you get into that power position is what they call it, where you see the entire field in front of you. Now, when you're coming on an in cut like Spencer was, your defender's already ready to set a mark, and you can't advance up the field as easily. So when you get that little dishy pass, again, it opens things up, and the thrower has all of the throws possible.
Yeah, keeping the disc moving. Nick Hutton there with the pull for the AlleyCats. Again, in sort of a slightly less windy day here in Indianapolis than we normally have it. but it still goes in the end zone a little bit. And there we have a quick turnover. Jake Fella with his second D, and he's got an opportunity to make a play, and he does.
Might have been bookends, right?
Yes, that's bookends.
With the D and also the goal at the end of that play.
Jake Fella making a name for himself perhaps this year.
Yeah, he gets that quick dishy pass to Colin Ringwood, and then Colin sees him going and puts it out to space, and he goes and gets it. It's impressive.
All right, and so one of the things that we normally see here, we talked earlier how with the Wildfire, how you kind of look at the top 2-3 people in assists, and that's a high percentage. But here with the AlleyCats, their first 4 goals have all been thrown to 4 different people and all been assisted by 4 different people. And so Rick Gross is with being the only one who has both an assist and a goal. But obviously, again, you see kind of that spread. But of course, that also might have something to do with the fact that the AlleyCats have a couple breaks here.
Yeah, and when you're playing on a good team with people that you can rely on, you want to be able to just make the smart decision. And you see the AlleyCats doing that when they're spreading it around, and lots of people are scoring and lots of people are throwing goals. So.
All right, so the pull goes out of bounds there, I believe, from Kyle Cox. So the Wildfire are going to be bringing it to midfield here, about 25 or about 20 yards upfield from where the end zone is set.
Looks like some sort of call. It's going to be a yardage penalty, so Chicago gets moved up 10 yards.
Yeah, I definitely didn't think it was a stall count, but he was looking at the mark there and making the call. So I'm not quite sure what Kyle Cox did, but let's see if the Wildfire can take advantage.
It was and a D by Colin Ringwood.
So we're going to see if the AlleyCats here can now work up the field. So you have Heath Kalaba, again, another one of those young players here from the Indy area, over to John Wanger. Again, not forcing it into the end zone here, working it back to the other side of the field. There's Zach Zebarth there with the disc. Kalaba makes a strike cut, and they get it right back to him.
Yeah, it's really good offense. It's patient offense. They swung it around until somebody was open, and then Heath saw that lane was going to be open, and then again, I think it's starting to wear on their offensive line, having to play multiple points in a row. They're a little slow on that defense, so Heath took advantage on that strike, and Zach put it out for him to catch.
Yeah. So, again, we have a couple other people there getting on the stat sheet. I'm going to be trying to perhaps keep up with that as much as I can just to kind of throw that in there. But we know one of the things that we've talked a lot about here with the AlleyCats is the stats are going to be spread out. And so we already have a lot of people contributing, which is, again, good because – 20 players might seem like a lot, but when you have 7 out there at a time and the points go quick, you really need depth to be, kind of an important role in the AUDL. All right, so we have Trotter there with the disc. He's going to be one of the main handlers there for the Wildfire. Works it over to Tommy Gallagher. Working it quickly up the field there. That's Danny Miller with the disc. Working it back and forth here. Kind of some clogged space there with the Wildfire. But still, and then, we have a quick drop there. That's Weiss, who, again, one of their starting O players there. Drops the disc, and now we have Ryan Jarvis here for the AlleyCats picking up the disc. So that's, I think, his first touch of the game.
Some uncharacteristic drops and throws by Chicago. It happens sometimes. We have these travel days.
Oh, you saw you saw Nick Hutton wanting to throw that hammer. Puts it out there to John Jones, and it's a tie. Tie goes to or at least whenever they grab it there at the same time, that's going to be the offensive player's disc, right?
Yeah. I don't think that went exactly how Nick Hutton wanted it, and.
You saw here, he's looking at it, though, and then puts it out there. Yeah, maybe perhaps a little high.
Yeah. But John Jones, good athlete, boxed him out. I'm surprised the Chicago guy actually made a play on that and made it close. But, John Jones did a good job of focusing and coming down with that catch.
Yeah. So Chicago takes a timeout here early on in the game, and we haven't played 5 minutes. AlleyCats have 6 goals. And so, again, perhaps the sort of we know that when we got here, we were setting up, and we know that we were told that Chicago has several players kind of filling in tonight, and perhaps that's kind of playing a role. We kind of see the Wildfire are over there huddling, trying to, perhaps light a fire under their players, and the AlleyCats already got 7 players out in the line ready to go. It seems to me, quite simply, that the AlleyCats didn't come to mess around today and came to try to prove themselves.
Yeah, the Wildfire already have a little bit of a shorter roster, which you don't expect to play into the beginning of the game as much as maybe later on down the game when you don't have those fresh legs. But I think they've got some new faces maybe that probably haven't played that much this year, and so you're seeing some of these miscues that a team that's more experienced like the AlleyCats that have been playing together more often, you're not going to see as often. So, AlleyCats are doing well.
Yeah, one of the other things that I've also noticed is the AlleyCats kind of, in some cases, have players like Travis Carpenter and even maybe Levi Jacobs play both offense and defense. I think one of the earlier broadcasts in the season, we talked about how Travis had played a much greater number of points than the second player on the AlleyCats. But it seems like today that the AlleyCats are very committed to utilizing the depth and perhaps maybe focusing more on Carpenter's ability to dominate on offense. So, a little bit of an extended break here on the timeout. AlleyCats have been on the line, ready to go here for a few minutes. So we're going to get the pull here from Kyle Cox down here to the Chicago Wildfire. So that's going to be, again, Max Trotter receiving the pull, hits Gallagher. Those two guys have been handling quite a bit for the last few points. AlleyCats come out and maybe they're still in a man-to-man look. A little bit of a poachy D here to start. Seems like they're finally set on their men here. Not able to get very many looks downfield, though, to start the game.
They don't even have anyone really cutting into that space. Now they do, but before that, it's everyone within 20 yards of the disc.
Yeah. Perhaps the Wildfire a little tired here to start. I'm not sure, but they're just waiting for the open throw to eventually come to them. We talked a lot about how the big space here in the AUDL makes it hard to guard, but they're going to throw it. We'll see if Kalaba can get there. And he's able to float it out, and a little bit of an intense spike there from Gallagher there at the end. So he starts out handling, eventually works his way downfield, and he gets the goal, and the Wildfire are back on the board.
Yeah, he's trying to light a fire again, like you said. He needs to get his team pumped up. They're starting a little slow. They look like they just got off the bus. But if they want to, there's a lot of time left in the game. So if they want to make a run, then it's got to start now.
Yeah, we
One thing is consistent. Things change. When they do, your insurance should too. An Indiana Farm Bureau insurance agent can review your current policy and check to see if you're paying too much or covered too little. Find your local Marion County agent at infarmbureau.com. Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Stop knocking on wood.
All right, and we are back here, Universe Point Productions. You're watching the Indianapolis AlleyCats hosting the Chicago Wildfire here. Joey Carey's going to receive the pull, and then Keenan Plu's going to take it, quickly swing it over all the way across the field there. Carpenter's going to huck it deep. Great throw there. That's a pretty long huck there. Carpenter hits Gross. I know Travis, and I know he's been actually working on those hucks and those pulls quite a bit. Anytime he's at an open field, he's going to work on those, and that's just like perfect float. I mean, that's just about as close to an unguardable throw as you're going to get.
Yeah, he put it out to space perfectly, 65 to 70 yards. when you have that lead, you can take some chances like that. I think what we were seeing on that last play, or that last point when Chicago actually ended up scoring, they started to get tentative because they're down a few points, and when that happens, you're less likely to take those shots. But with a 4-goal lead, you feel a little bit more comfortable about that, and you know that Rick Gross is going to beat most people, so you can put it out there.
Yeah, and ultimately we know it's a game of momentum, and it's a game of, you just once you start making those few plays, you just really, in the case of the Wildfire, again, you just got to take it 1 point at a time. So, again, we have Gallagher here. A little bit of miscommunication, but I think we're going to get a little bit of a contact call there. Ringwood kind of got in his way as he was maybe coming back for the dump.
Yeah, I don't think Colin's mad about that call. I think he was a guilty party in there.
Yes. So there's Giannis with the disc. Handler's working it, again, back and forth quite a bit here for the Wildfire. There we go, working a cutter into it. We got Pardo there with the disc. Kind of one of the first times we've called his name. We know that he's got plenty of goals for them this season.
One thing I think the AlleyCats are trying to do is put Jake Fella on Giannis to take away some of his bigger throws, since Jake's got that long wingspan, and he can, as we saw in one of the earlier plays, he got a point block. I think he's going to be able to take away some of those looks.
Yeah, that's a good point. Here in the AUDL, you sometimes can kind of zone in on those matchups there because, again, we know that quite often one player can really just take over a game with their throws and cutting and really everything. All right there, and that is another goal there. Giannis there with the score. Perhaps I think the AlleyCats kind of got worn out there on that D point.
Yeah, and as we were kind of talking about, when you have a balanced offense like the AlleyCats do, it's harder to take away that one thing that you do well. Whereas Chicago, it seems like if you know that everything's going through one guy and he's making all of the throws, then you can adjust to that and you can put specific defenders on there to make him uncomfortable and have to do things he doesn't like.
Yeah.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by the Indiana Ultimate Foundation. The IUF's mission is to promote the growth and development of Ultimate at all levels in the state of Indiana. Visit them online at indianaultimatefoundation.com.
Got the pull from Chicago. Joey Carey centering to Keenan Plew. AlleyCats are coming out in the vertical stack.
Ooh, all right. Cameron Brock there able to bail out the throw. A little bit of contact there on the mark. Can definitely see that there. A little bit tight mark, but that's not always going to be called there. I think the players know that. Especially with a lot of times be used to making the calls yourself. And then there's Chicago's first break. And Cameron Brock giving a few words to the refs, letting them know that their marks are sometimes a little tight.
Yeah, in the AUDL, you definitely get away with a little bit more of that. Right there, I think it got into Cameron's head because he was expecting a call to happen, and then he knew he was at a high stall count. He had to fire that into Joey Carey, and it was a tough catch for Joey since it was coming in so hot.
If either team gets a Callahan in today's game, 5 Ultimate will offer a 10% discount from their store for the next 24 hours. If a Callahan happens, we will be given the code and share it with our viewers. Thank you, 5 Ultimate. And actually, I think last time, I remember our last broadcast, I think it was the very next point there was a Callahan when we mentioned that. So, who knows? I guess that would be bad for the AlleyCats in this instance, perhaps. I mean, you never know. I guess it could happen either way.
Yep.
All right, so a roller pull there is going to go out of bounds, so perhaps we're going to see a different setup here from Chicago on defense. I think we've pretty much seen all man-to-man defense here. It looks like perhaps there's a little bit of a zone here from Chicago.
It's a double team right away on the sideline.
But as you can see here, I guess maybe you can see, maybe you can't, but there's a lot of open space towards us right now. So the AlleyCats, again, able to make use of it there. And, the wind kind of picks up a little bit, and that's going to go out of bounds. I got a feel for it up here in the booth. All of a sudden, right before he released that throw, it was like an instant just burst of wind and perhaps a little bit of a difficult throw to make there.
Yeah, he was definitely open. It was a good decision, I think, by Levi. It's just he's got to keep that down a little bit. Keenan's one, you're not trying to get him into a jump ball. You're trying to throw onto space and let him use his legs and his speed to get to it. So
I think this is the first time the AlleyCats offense has failed to score, and I think they have a couple turnovers here. So Chicago with perhaps a chance to get, I think, their third consecutive point here. So Giannis, again, he's working it a lot. We're going to see him play O&D, I think, tonight. So he's getting all of his touches in here. Wildfire working it back and forth there. That's Cool there on the sideline now with the disc. Giannis making a strike cut. Not necessarily looking downfield right now. Weiss works it up the field to O'Brien. Again, they're all in this sort of 2 to 3 yard space here on the sideline. Now they're perhaps swinging it over there. Giannis and Newman working it back and forth there. Again, everybody touching the disc now for the Wildfire. A couple of those sort of strike cuts there, fighting through the defender there from Giannis. He's got to get rid of it there with the stall count running out, and the Wildfire have another break. But again, I don't know if it was necessarily easy because the AlleyCats were working, I guess, playing a little bit of tight defense there. But again, we have Giannis there, and he's going to hit Pardo for the score. So I think that's his first score, and Pardo's their leading goal scorer. And again, now we have the Wildfire here with 3 quick points, and all of a sudden, just like we talked about, AlleyCats going up very quick, but all of a sudden it's now just a 2-point game.
Hey everybody, this summer Zigzag Ultimate is putting on its first ever Youth Ultimate Summer Camp. It's going to be an awesome time. I will be there coaching. I'm very, very much looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. Go to zigzagultimate.com for all the details.
All right, we are back here again with Universe Point Productions. We appreciate all of the listeners out there. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast. We certainly know we always enjoy being here, being able to provide you with this ultimate experience. See what I did there? Mm-hmm. All right. I always got to have a few of those every week. Every week I'm out here. All right, so AlleyCats now looking to have perhaps a clean point, but we're going to see a huge throw there from Cameron Brock, and can Cox keep it in? I think just as he caught it, he got that foot down.
Yeah, Kyle Cox not somebody you normally see cutting deep, but he on a few occasions this season has kind of lulled his defender into thinking he's staying in the backfield, and then he'll take off, and he's shown some good wheels.
And he's got that Marvin Harrison footwork there in the back of the end zone.
Yeah, that was a big point for the AlleyCats too. They had some fresh legs on that don't normally play offensive line. I think we saw John Jones and some other guys crossing over. But if you're giving up breaks, you have to get those fresh guys in, and sometimes they're not used to that role of playing good offense. But Cameron had a good throw, and Kyle Cox was able to come down with it.
Yeah, and of course we know either team, whatever the team is, the Wildfire, AlleyCats, any other team, we know that the O-line always wants to stay out there and really prove themselves and not be like, hey, we got this still. But, sometimes, especially when you just want to mix in a few guys, it's important to, again, just utilize that depth. So another pull here from Nick Hutton, the wind really helping that one. We'll see if it's going to land right in the back of the end zone there. So Wildfire able to work it up fairly quickly. So again, we have Gallagher and we have Trotter working it back and forth here. And now they're working it downfield. That's ex-AlleyCat there. Now Chicago Wildfire player Eric Johnson. I think that might be one of the first times we've called his name, but we know he can certainly make plays as well. And Giannis is going to look towards the end zone, and there we go. The Wildfire answer right back. That's Max Trotter there with the goal, with the assist going to some guy or a guy that we know that we're going to be calling a lot there, Pavel Giannis.
Yeah, as they're starting to get closer in this game, I think the whole Wildfire team, and especially Pavel, are going to gain that confidence. And so when they have those throws, they're going to take advantage of them.
Yeah, we're seeing here just the ability for teams to continue to fight back. And, Wildfire certainly going to be needing to use their legs. And we know that, sometimes the energy can just kind of be drained from you, but of course we know that the more breaks the Wildfire get, the more it's just going to pump them back up. All right, so we're going to have Kalunder there with the pull, and Keenan Palou again, normal AlleyCat offense back out there. This time coming out in a little bit of a more of a side stack there, but they have Loskar and Brock kind of isolated out there. Forced to swing it over to the near side of the field here towards us. You got Brock there. Thought for a second he was running there open deep, but then I kind of looked back up and saw Kalunder there. He kind of poaching off his man a little bit. They just have him kind of isolated deep. They kind of keep trading back and forth, almost not necessarily a zone look, but they have kind of a couple people staying back, and they're really trying to save that deep space. But Palou there with his famous low-flying hammer look there across the field, and he hits Rick Gross for the score.
I'm not sure whether it's famous. If it is, then he needs to throw it better. Yeah, it looked like the two defenders may have had a chance at that, and then Rick Gross comes through and, right in front of him, grabs it.
I just didn't recognize him. I think he's wearing a hat for one of the first times.
Yeah, he doesn't normally wear that.
I kind of like, who's that new guy the AlleyCats got in there? Oh, it's Rick Gross.
Yep. So Chicago was, a little bit of a zone, a little bit of a matchup zone where if someone was coming in their area, they were guarding them. They were leaving somebody poached, though, so as long as the AlleyCats were patient, they were going to find someone open for big gainers. And, so good offense. Again, whenever that happens, it's just got to be patient.
Excellent point. Yeah, it wasn't so much of a zone, but you could tell that the AlleyCats were just able to make use of it. So, again, now we're actually going to see Travis Carpenter, Spencer Loskar, and Rick Gross out here on defense for the AlleyCats. So a little bit of a, more, I don't know if you want to say stacked D-line here, but it's, again, some of their more bigger athletes out there definitely trying to maybe make sure they get that one of those breaks back.
Yeah, all experienced guys that have been on the team for multiple years.
Yes, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. All right, so there again, that was more just of it certainly wasn't a forced turnover there, but now we're going to see Carpenter again. He's certainly going to be, anytime he's out there on D and they get the turnover, he's going to be one of the ones that's going to be handling the disc a lot. So 30 seconds here left in the quarter now, about 25 seconds. So we'll see if the AlleyCats here can get the break before the quarter ends and go up 4 here. Gross is going to put it there in a tight window, but Fella is able to get up there for the sky, and Jake Fella comes down with the disc.
Yeah, not sure whether that decision was because the clock was winding down or not, but I guess, he probably trusted Jake to come down with that one, and let's see the replay right here.
It's kind of hard to see the space there. You definitely saw Fella had maybe a step or so on his man, but definitely in that window, there was another defender kind of already downfield, but the throw just ended up kind of needing to be going where it needed to be.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want those types of throws when it's on the line and up the line. They're usually low percentage throws, but again, you got to keep in mind who you're throwing to.
All right, so it looks like he had just kind of maybe read the decision there the whole way, left his man, and, one of those where at the end of the day you just kind of be like, well, it worked out. Some of the taller players out there for the AlleyCats on defense now, only 14 seconds to go here in the first quarter, but perhaps going to get some help there for the Wildfire with the pull going out of bounds. So
14 seconds is still a long time. They can complete 5 or 6 passes in that time, work it down the field. I would expect them to get past midfield and then start looking towards the end zone.
Yeah, so we've seen some pretty crazy plays here at the end of quarters throughout the AUDL this season. So now down to 5 seconds. 4. He's going to need to fire it towards the end zone here as he catches it. Gets it off just in time. But Fella there with his third block there of the first quarter. So the first quarter comes to an end here. AlleyCats up 10-6. So we're going to take a quick break. Thanks for watching Universe Point Productions. You are watching the Chicago Wildfire versus the Indianapolis AlleyCats on universepointproductions.com, presented by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance.
Cheap furniture. Nice game system. New job. Steady girlfriend. Wedding. Dog that serves as a practice child. Little kid. Little kids. Oh. Big kids. Big changes. So, once a year, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance checks to see if we're paying too much or covered too little.
Find an agent and stop knocking on wood.
All right, so we're back here after one quarter of play here on Universe Point Productions. The Indianapolis AlleyCats lead the Chicago Wildfire 10-6. So, Blake, we saw, again, the AlleyCats get out to a quick lead, but the Wildfire kind of pushed it back. What are your thoughts there in the first quarter?
One guy that I was really impressed with in that first quarter, and we've mentioned his name a number of times, is Jake Fella. I think you mentioned he had 3 Ds. He had a point block. He was able to get up in the end zone on that last play there to stop a potential goal at the end of the quarter, and he's been able to score goals. So he's one that continues to get better and continues to impress me throughout the year. And I just think the sky's the limit for him. He's going to be a great player for a long time.
I agree. Yeah, he's definitely one of those where perhaps he can become kind of a mainstay here in the AlleyCats, and definitely can make some plays on defense, can contribute with goals, on breaks, has the ability to make throws upfield, generally make smart decisions. So just one of those athletes that can make a bunch of plays, and you hope to continue to see him get better and better every year. All right, so the AlleyCats are going to come out on defense here, and we're going to see kind of back to their perhaps starting D-line they had here. And the Wildfire again, going to be looking to, get the score here and just, get 1 point at a time for them. So this kind of seems to be sort of a reoccurring thing where the first few minutes are either going really good for the AlleyCats or really bad, and then it just kind of, the end of the quarter, maybe from what I've seen in the past, is usually gone their way, but perhaps they've either gone up by a lot or gotten down within the first few points. Yeah,
I'd expect Chicago. They've gotten those initial nerves out. They've started to calm down a little bit. Their offense is working better. It'll be interesting to see what sort of changes they make for this next quarter.
Yeah, and as you can see, sort of a different look there on the screen for the viewers out there. The sun has certainly shifted, and we got kind of I think some of the players are looking into the sun here a little bit, and we're going to get a stall called. So held it a little bit too long, and the AlleyCats put some pressure on D, and now are going to get an opportunity for an early break here.
One thing going left to right as the disc goes up here. Oh, almost a big play by Nick Hutton there from the shot by Cox. But going left to right here, what I was going to mention is they're going into the sun. This is one of those fields where as you're looking down, especially later as the game goes on and the sun is setting, the sun is right there when the handlers are looking upfield, and they're not able to see wind cutters are coming open as easily.
Yeah, that's a good point. So perhaps going to maybe see an opportunity here for some plays on defense here. So Giannis swings it across there to Gallagher. Again, AlleyCats maybe doing a pretty solid job there shutting down field. Not looking deep so much here, the Wildfire. There's Johnson there working it back again to Giannis. And we're going to have a call here from the ref far off your camera. And I think perhaps we're getting a little bit contact downfield. Or they're going backwards there. Maybe a pick call.
I think it was a pick downfield.
Yes.
So, yeah, Chicago has to move back 10 yards.
Yes, always helpful, again, having kind of that extra ref downfield that's able to maybe look and watch the cutters a little bit. Oh, almost an opportunity there for John Jones, but John Jones it looks like he's going to invoke the integrity rule, which is, again, one of the things I love about Ultimate, spirit of the game. But if you didn't see it, he kind of comes around his guy, and here you'll see it here. So he's coming up, and he's maybe trying to put his hand out there, and he gets contact on him, and the ref doesn't see it. And again, one of the great things about the AUDL is players are allowed to tell the refs, "Hey, I made contact with him, I fouled him," and he uses the integrity rule to do that. Wildfire taking a shot. Is he going to be able to stay in? He call it in, and that is the score there.
Looked like a deep shot from Eric Johnson, the former AlleyCat. Again, putting one of those on the line, up the line, without much room for error, so it had to be a tight catch on that sideline.
That goal was brought to you by Zigzag Ultimate. Find out more about Zigzag's Ultimate summer camps at zigzagultimate.com. So again, that's like he throws it standing literally inches from the sideline, and the guy catches it inches from the sideline. So there's just, again, that's probably the least preferred throw downfield. And
it continues to work, so what do we know?
Yeah, so again, we've seen it quite a bit. Some of the offenses kind of working their way upfield, but, I guess if the guys have the throw, they're going to make it.
Yeah, and in the AUDL game, you do have a lot of really talented throwers that trust their throws and can throw in those tight windows. So when you get to this level, then it is a higher percentage shot than maybe at some of those lower levels of Ultimate.
Yes.
Looks like some contact maybe on.
Right as he turned to pivot to throw it back, there was a very quick whistle.
Yep.
But as soon as he saw it, they call it. Joey Carey there, he was in pretty good position there, but decided to hold it, which, again, good decision there. Carpenter able to evade his man, and he hits Schwartz there for the score. See some of the AlleyCats players there on offense getting a little fired up there.
Yeah. Nice and smooth offense, just working it right down the sideline. We had a few strike throws right to Travis, and then an unguarded person basically in the back of the end zone, Aaron Schwartz. So there was good patience earlier in the point. You had Cameron Brock streaking with some space, and I don't remember who it was, but they decided not to throw it. And, again, taking the higher percentage look and just taking what the defense gives you.
So the AlleyCats there able to maintain that 4-point lead there, and so just kind of trading some points back and forth here. A little bit more than 3 minutes have gone by here, and just kind of trading points back and forth. So we'll see if either team can maybe start to add more and more breaks together and start to either pull away if you're the AlleyCats or close the gap if you're the Wildfire. So there's one of those roller pulls we sometimes see there from Nick Hutton. The Wildfire are going to hurry up and tap it in on the sideline there to try to get their offense moving. The winds kind of maybe allow for some of those crazy throws across the field there like that.
Yeah, they start off with a double team trying to force them into a low percentage throw, but, yeah, when there's no wind and talented throwers, you can get it out of there.
Wildfire looking for Johnson downfield. We know he's got some ability, and it's kind of an assist there from Wenger to Johnson for the Wildfire. And I think there was a little bit of contact, and he didn't appreciate it, and Wildfire there get fired up with that.
I'm not certain that it wouldn't have been a foul call anyways. It looked like Wenger made some contact as Eric Johnson was going for the disc. I'm assuming that even if it was a D or a drop or whatever, that it probably would have gone back
yes.
To that same result. But yeah, he's definitely fired up, and he's trying to get the rest of the team fired up. So you saw the emphatic spike, and
yeah,
we'll see what their D-line can do.
So so we'll see if the Wildfire can sort of build through that momentum. You got any thoughts on spikes? Are you a big guy who likes to just spike the disc? Do you like it when you see players doing that?
I'm not a huge fan of it for me personally, but I also don't mind when other people do it. There's a lot of people that get offended, and right away they're coming off the field so mad that the other team does it. It doesn't bother me. I don't let things like that get in my head.
I think for me, it's just maybe one of those things you want to watch. I honestly, for me, just want to take care of the disc, I guess, more than anything else. So I'm just trying to sort of watch what I do after I get the score.
As long as there's no harm to the disc, I don't mind it. But, yeah, if it's bent or anything, then, yeah, I do have an issue with that.
All right, certainly. So here we go. So, again, a great throw out there to space. Keenan Plew able to just slowly track it down. AlleyCats kind of able to work the space there with sort of relative ease so far.
Chicago's playing with kind of a last back defender who's not really guarding anyone except until now.
Oh, wow. Keenan Plew there with the hammer and not quite in the end zone yet. And we're going to get a foul call there. Wildfire have been a little bit close there on their marks today. Kind of seeing that quite a bit now. But they're going to be able to bring it just out the goal line on the middle of the field. Going to wait for that whistle there. And Cameron Brock, so returns with the emphatic spike of his own.
I would say I've played enough Chicago teams to know that they can be pretty physical on the mark. That's kind of one of the things that they do. And in the AUDL, sometimes you can get away with it, but there he gets to take it at the middle of the end zone. And in those tight spaces, it's so hard to guard athletic players like Cameron Brock who can just be faster than you and get open. So
now, when they call those fouls, you'll see the players downfield start to move because they don't have to wait for the whistle. And so that can sometimes make it a little bit harder.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference in some of the rule sets between Club Ultimate and the AUDL. In AUDL, you're able to move pretty much at all times. There's never a time when there's stoppage where you can't be moving. So you can get open whenever you want to, and Cameron did that right there.
Yeah, I think it was just one of those things where maybe the defender forgot about that and just was able to kind of move and get open. So here we go. The Wildfire again. Disc finds itself into the hands of Pavlianis. Gallagher again, been handling it quite a bit today as well. We'll see if they can continue that throw here over to the fore side. Instead, the lefty throw there to the break side. Wildfire continuing to hit the break side. Eric Johnson now been touching it quite a bit here on offense. So, again, being able to provide that energy there for them has been helping them so far this quarter. So, Weiss looks for Johnson, who's able to get it into the end zone and gets another spike. More of a hike there than anything else.
Yeah, I think that was it. Chicago started off in kind of a split stack look, and they then morphed into a more traditional vertical stack down the field. It's kind of interesting. I don't know whether that's a normal offense or whether that's something that they're just throwing in to give the defense another look. But I think one of the things that the AlleyCats have done well is have a structured offense that everyone knows about.
Yeah.
Today's broadcast is sponsored by Dr. John Rimple and Health Zone Chiropractic. Proud to support and provide peak performance for Ultimate in Central Indiana. Visit us online at healthzonechiro.net. That's healthzonechiro.net.
All right, so again, we're going to continue here. Second quarter action. Indianapolis AlleyCats taking on the Chicago Wildfire. AlleyCats hold a 3-point lead here, about halfway through the second quarter. So again, the Wildfire, we'll see if they're. It looks like they're guarding a little bit more man-to-man now to start this point. But Cameron Brock able to also provide some throws for the AlleyCats there. You'll see, again, pretty much anybody there that we know the AlleyCats stress that they want all their players to be able to be in a handler position at all times. And Cameron Brock, just a quick punch down to the ground. I was starting to wonder if maybe this was going to become we'll see who can get more of the inventive spike back and forth, but perhaps that'll come to a close pretty quick.
Yeah, that's something you can pay attention to and keep us informed. But, yeah, the AlleyCats offense looked really smooth. Again, you see whenever Cameron Brock's in the end zone, he's a viable option. And so even though it was kind of a over the middle of the field throw where it's a longer forehand, it was a good throw. It's good out to space, and you know Cameron Brock's going to come down with it if it's a 50-50 ball.
So again, we've been trading points back and forth here throughout pretty much the whole second quarter. I think the AlleyCats got a quick break to start the quarter to go up 4, and then we've just kind of been trading back and forth ever since. Not very many turnovers, I think, also ever since we had, I think it was the quick drop there from the Wildfire on that first point. And so a little bit of a miscommunication there.
You jinxed him right there.
Yeah. Pardo there with the miscommunication with the handler, and now the AlleyCats again are going to get an opportunity. Setting up a double team, and the Scuba there across the field there to Ringwood, who hits Cox again. Nick Hutton with plenty of time and space. And AlleyCats just seeming to be very patient here, kind of working it back and forth.
I think we got a timeout maybe.
We're going to get a timeout from the AlleyCats. And looks like they're, again, going to, obviously put in that O-line there. And maybe perhaps a critical time, they think, to go up 5 and get that I think that would be their second break of the quarter there.
Yeah, I don't think they've used any timeouts really, so and I think they lose some at halftime. So if they have chances like this where the D's gotten a turn, they can put in that O-line that they think is they're really confident about actually putting it into the end zone.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Zigzag Ultimate. Zigzag Ultimate runs youth camps and adult clinics in Grand Rapids, Michigan, offering both overnight and day camp options. Campers will be coached by some of the best players in the world, including the AlleyCats' own Travis Carpenter. Find out more at zigzagultimate.com. All right, so we're going to see a vert stack offense here, fairly close to the end zone from the AlleyCats. Kane Plu's going to be taking the disc. Plu's going to cut strike there on the far side of the field, and Carpenter with plenty of space. Timeout works for the AlleyCats, and they go up 5.
That's why they bring in their offensive line, just because of that efficiency and when they're down in those small spaces, making those tight throws like Joey DeKeenan, and then Travis just getting open and making it look easy.
Yeah, it seems that as long as they're waiting and making the right throw, that the Wildfire are having a kind of a hard time guarding those offensive cutters there for the AlleyCats today.
Yeah, the AlleyCats don't do a whole lot of fancy stuff. They have a very structured offense, and I think against a team that's not as organized and maybe hasn't played together as much, it's very good against those type of teams like a Chicago. What they run into with some of the better teams like a Madison is sometimes they're a little predictable. The AlleyCats can be predictable because they do the same thing every single time. So,
yep.
But against a team like Chicago, it's definitely going to work really well.
Yep. So, again, it looks like a very intentional play call there, looking for Pardo deep down the field. So, again, you saw Weiss make that sort of quick – we see a lot of times that play there from the front of the stack. He continues to cut deep. This time he threw a little bit of a wrinkle in it, came back in, and very structured play there, intentional play call looking for Pardo deep, and it works out.
Yeah, when you're in that vertical stack and you get it to the break side, anytime you have that open lane, usually a deep shot's a good option just because most of the defenders will be on the opposite side of the field. So, again, Chicago taking advantage of that break side, that power position, and putting it out space.
And the timing's got to be there too with that cut, right? As if he takes off too soon, sometimes it's a little bit easier to catch him and defend because if the cutter just gets too far downfield, a lot of times it's a risky decision.
Yeah, but usually you can wait a little bit longer because they are on the break side and your defender's on the opposite side, so it's just kind of taking off at a sprint just because your defender's on the opposite side.
And of course you have a fairly long field here in the AUDL, so there's plenty of space to put it out there. A little bit of a different look here again. The AlleyCats spreading out their cutters wide. Plu's taken off from his handler position, and let's see, he's got the taller guy on him, and he's able to get up and D it there. A little bit of contact, but that certainly looked like it was well after the D was made.
That's one thing I do like watching Keenan play through the years is he's a smaller guy, but he's not going to complain when there is contact. He knows if somebody D's him up, and he's usually just ready to get it back and try to get back on defense.
Oh yeah, I mean, and he's a fiery guy, but in a good way. You know, he's definitely going to I think thrives off the competition. So looks like we have a call there.
I think it may have been a timeout before the D, which is unfortunate because it was a bang-bang play. I heard the whistle as the
that's one of those weird things where if he what do you think? If he hears him call timeout, there's a great layout D there from Rick Gross. One of the first kind of big plays we've seen on defense here today. But perhaps if he calls timeout, and as long as they still have possession at any point of the disc, and it's not in the air. They get to keep that timeout.
That's the one thing I was unsure about as that play happened was whether the whistle actually occurred when the disc was in the air. It seemed like it may have been that the throw happened and then the whistle happened. I don't know when they actually called it or when the ref realized it and said it, so he probably gave him the benefit of the doubt.
It's a little bit more difficult here in Ultimate just because, again, it's going to sometimes move quickly, but it's also not one of those things where you can do where if it's floating downfield and you think it might get D'd, just call a quick timeout.
Yeah, obviously. So I don't think that was the case there, but a bit of a break for Chicago. They get the disc back, and they get to bring in their offense as well.
Yes. And so, again, one of the different things there is basically the lines just basically switch. One team swaps out all the O for D players and vice versa. So again, we're going to see this matchup here with Jake Fella guarding Pavlianis there with the disc. And so Chicago, again, just like we talked about, Indianapolis trying to take advantage of the break opportunity. Chicago knows this is maybe a point they don't want to let slip away, so they're going to get some fresh legs in there. So again, we see Giannis and Gallagher there touching the disc a lot. Trotter there, also one of the main handlers tonight. A lot of just back and forth with the handlers here. So Weiss, again, another key player there we've seen from offense. On offense there for the Wildfire. And perhaps we're going to see a deep look here. We are. There's going to be a couple players there in the area, and Weiss is able to go up and make a pretty solid play.
Yeah, when the disc initially went up, I immediately saw Donovan take off. He read it pretty well. That's just the case of where the disc was angled and how it was coming in. It was a little bit easier for the offense to get position.
Yes.
And Donovan was kind of going backwards, and Donovan triplet, and it was a good effort, but a better effort by the offense.
Yeah, and you're right. It's one of those things where he's definitely Triplet's having to look up over himself, and Weiss is able to kind of come into it and perhaps time it a little bit better. And again, the Wildfire, they're able to make use of the timeout. I believe they're out of timeouts now for the half. AlleyCats still have one remaining. And so, again, we're now back to the 3-point lead we had, I think, at the start of the quarter. And so perhaps one of the more even quarters we've seen here in a while for the AlleyCats. Still got about 3 minutes left here. So now kind of a roller. It's one of those weird things where sometimes the sideline can almost aid play because if they get that disc there quickly, the offense almost gets a little bit of an advantage. But AlleyCats able to make use of the far space there, going back and forth quite a few times there with Schwartz and Brock. Luckily, that disc didn't touch the ground there. It looked like it could have been close, but the AlleyCats able to make quick work of it there, and only about 10 or 11 seconds, I think, went off the clock, and they get another score.
Yeah, sometimes it's not a bad thing to kind of shorten the field and play tight defense, but whatever Chicago was doing there, they shouldn't do the rest of the game. It was far too easy for the AlleyCats. Leaving that far side so open, it was a quick give and go between Rick and Cameron, and they were at the goal line essentially in a matter of time, and none of the throws were very hard.
And like I talked about there, you saw kind of some of the members there on the AlleyCats sideline stopping the disc, and it got set in really quickly, which that just almost seems like a little bit of an advantage. They're able to kind of throw it over the top, make use of the far side of the field very quickly, and
they do have the option of rolling it on their own sideline where
sure that is
they
true.
Probably won't be as quick to help out with the disc.
Right.
So.
We know that, but of course I also know that you see refs and sometimes some helpers there on the sideline where they're trying. I think the goal is to try to get the disc at least to where they can set it up pretty quickly. Do we have a offsides call here perhaps?
I believe so. So I think it comes out to midfield.
So the Wildfire are going to start with a short field here. Coming out in a vertical stack offense. Send a couple people to the near side, one person to the far side there. Sort of, again, another intentional play call there we see. Giannis with the disc again. Works it to Gallagher. And Gallagher now with a hammer of his own. And Johnson there gets another score. So Johnson's kind of quickly become one of the, he's gotten more of their goals here certainly, but become a little bit of an offensive weapon there for him.
Yeah, he's familiar with this stadium because he used to play here all the time.
Yes.
But he also seems to really like that corner because I think most of his goals have ended up right about where he landed right there. But yeah, Chicago offense looked better. Again, whenever you're making a team throw hammers across the field, that's not always – you can't do much about that. You can't take away everything. So you're going to live with those and hopefully come up with some that hang and you're able to get these. But I don't think there's too much that the AlleyCats are mad about there.
No, so it seems like those first few points, though, at the beginning of the first quarter there have become really the key because here in the last, maybe about 10, 12 minutes or so of play, really just been trading back and forth ever since the AlleyCats really took that timeout, I believe, there. It's kind of been trading back and forth. So the AlleyCats start in vertical stack, but sort of quickly spread the field there. Able to work it to Cameron Brock. Gross able to elude his man. And that's Dan Vakarov there with the D. So he's, again, getting an opportunity to play today with the Wildfire. Makes use of it there with the D. And now they swing it back. Cool swings it over to him. He hits Newman. So, again, a little bit of a different D-line here. We're seeing some, again, different players now contribute for the Wildfire. Shea then sends it back to Cool. Lot of quick throws here. It looks like the AlleyCats are kind of staying off their men a little bit here. I don't know if the offensive line here is maybe a little bit tired. Maybe a good thing the Wildfire don't have timeouts because that way they can maybe make use of the fact that it looks like this offensive line here is maybe a little bit tired here on defense, playing really loose, or at least pushing all the guys under. So the Wildfire having to make plenty of throws here. O'Brien now with another hammer, and Wildfire able to bring it to within 2.
Yeah, again, a questionable decision ends up working out for the Wildfire. That hammer hung up a little bit longer, and I don't think the defender had a very good look at it. I think it may have been Joey Carey in the end zone here. Again, he gets kind of caught looking at his man and just not in good position to make a play.
Seems like the hammers have become sort of the favorite look there for the Wildfire.
For sure. And it'll be interesting to see. It looks like we got some fresh legs on the offensive line just because those guys look gassed at the end of that point. It was a long point with lots of throws, and having to play defense for that long, it's hard to play another point right away.
So we have just a little bit over a minute left here in the first half. So again, the AlleyCats jump out to a quick, I think it was 6-1. After 7-point score, the AlleyCats had a 5-point lead, and now we're down to just a 2-point lead here with a little over a minute to go left in the first half. And we're going to get an offsides call here, I believe, now on the Wildfire. And again, now the AlleyCats are going to be able to make use of that 40-yard head start, so to speak. And again, as you mentioned, it looks like Keenan Plew stayed over from that O-line, and 6 new players now on this point. But again, you have Levi Jacobs there net casting the disc. I think he's played certainly a few O points in his life. But again, great throw there, floating it out to, again, just quick break look one after the other there. And Nick Hutton with the score.
Yeah, interesting throw. When you're Keenan Plew and you're a shorter stature, you don't always have all of the same angles that a taller handler might. So he put out a little hammer to space. And then Levi catching it on the break side, sees Nick Hutton, his buddy, who he's played with a long time.
Yeah.
And he trusts him, so he puts it out there to space, and Nick Hutton runs it down.
But again, one of those things that you talked about is just kind of knowing. Again, we see maybe a little bit of wind here, but the offsides aided that as well. But just able to really make use of the fact of knowing that Hutton can sort of just quickly he doesn't even have to set up his cut. He can just quickly go straight to the break side. And as long as you lead him out there, it's, again, pretty hard to stop that throw.
Yep.
All right, so again, we just only took about 7 seconds there off the clock thanks to the, again, offsides call. So now the Wildfire, again, going to start with here just a minute left to go in the first half. So again, we see Trotter, Gallagher, and Giannis there, the 3 main handlers. Weiss he's gotten plenty of touches there as a cutter there for the Wildfire there today. So again, the Wildfire just slowly working it up the field, and they have plenty of time here. Kind of a break side look here towards the near side of the field. Again, floats it up there. Nick Hutton setting up getting plenty of space there and able to get the D. Maybe not one of the crazy Ds we've seen from him, but again, a D nonetheless.
I'm a little surprised Chicago is taking that shot. It seems like with under a minute left, you want to work down the clock and then be the one throwing it into the end zone with a few seconds left.
Yep. And so now the AlleyCats, I believe, are going to call a timeout here now with 12 seconds left. Again, the AlleyCats now with an opportunity to, with an even quarter so far, able to try to take +1 advantage there this quarter and go into the half with a possible 4-point lead.
Anytime you can score right before the end of a quarter or the end of a half, that's kind of a mini break.
Yeah.
So this is big for the AlleyCats. 12 seconds, again, is plenty of time to make 4 or 5 throws. We'll see them get it to probably aiming to get it somewhere around the 30-yard line where they have a quick throw into the end zone.
Yeah, and we saw the ref here communicate with the clock operator, put 3 more seconds back on, so we're up to 15 seconds. But again, there in the huddle, you see the two guys talking a lot are Brock and Plew.
Yeah, two guys
that have been there on the O-line. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just as you were saying, 2 guys that have been around for a long time, so they're going to be very vocal about what they want to see in these end of quarter situations.
Yep. I'm pretty sure they've been starting on O-line since the very beginning. which is why they're leading the AUDL all-time in goals and assists.
So much for being an amazing fan, and thank you all of you for answering our Facebook challenge.
All right, so we are going to again see the AlleyCats here get their set up. So they got kind of an angled vert stack. They send Carpenter deep immediately. The Wildfire poaching again downfield a little bit. So the AlleyCats are able to gain several yards here. So we're down to about 6 seconds. And then we see Brock quickly there throw it to the end zone. And of all the players there, we see the Wildfire come down with it.
I think we might have a call here.
Yeah, I think we're Loskar was arguing that he grabbed it, and yeah, the ref is going to say that Loskar stopped rotation and that the defender there, I believe that was O'Brien, took the disc from him. And so now we are going to have the AlleyCats with a 4-point lead here at half.
Yeah, good first half for the AlleyCats. They have to be happy with this. Going into the second half with a 4-point lead, they've been in this situation before, and it's gone both ways. So they got to stay focused. They can't be content with just being up 4 points for one half.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back here once action returns in the second half. You're watching the Chicago Wildfire versus the Indianapolis AlleyCats on UniversePointProductions.com, presented by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. All right, we apologize for technical difficulties here, but we are back now at the start of the second half here, just underway, and we actually have an injury timeout here on the field for Chicago player. It looks like that's Judah Newman there that's down, and so obviously we hope that he is okay. And so the AlleyCats still with the disc, up 17-13 here, about just under 11 minutes left here in the third quarter here. And we're going to see Keenan Plew there, hits Cameron Brock quickly. So again, then we see Jake Fella there making the play. So again, one of those things there where before the disc is tapped in, we saw Cameron Brock just kind of take off, and maybe again his defender wasn't anticipating it, but able to make use of the fact. And even though it wasn't a score off the throw, it's one of those where you just kind of put it out to space, and maybe you're not concerned. You're not just as concerned with it being a score as it is a completion.
Yeah, the classic connection, as they like to say around here, Keenan to Cam going deep. And then after that, you had Jake Fella sprinting up the sideline and Cameron putting it to space for him. And good offense.
So again, we see Jake Fella there now staying out again on defense. So far, it seems to me, I don't necessarily have all of the assists and goals and Ds copied down, but we definitely see Cameron Brock getting in plenty of assists and a goal or two, and we see Jake Fella there with about 3 blocks and 3 or 4 goals, and so again he's making his presence felt on both sides of the disc. So again, another nice pull there from the AlleyCats. Again, I believe that was Nick Hutton again, so seeing a little bit of a Cox kind of poaching off his man, setting up a bit of a wall there, but Wildfire able to make use of that and get to about midfield there. Johnson hits Weiss, then gets it to Gallagher. We're going to get a call there. I believe it was a travel maybe? And now Pardo again with the disc. And we're going to see another deep shot there to Johnson, but that one's going to sail out of bounds, and Jones is there to make a play.
2 former IU players there in the end zone. Throw a little bit out of bounds, so we couldn't see the fireworks like we wanted to, but a good play by Jones.
Yep. Cox now going to pick up the disc here for the AlleyCats with, again, another early chance here to get a break. Ooh, a bit of a risky throw there, but Jacobs able to then hit Connor Henderson there. who's going to now look deep for Levi Jacobs. Well, Levi and Nick Hutton are both there, and Hutton able to then hit Jacobs there. All right. So one of those things there where now, like, players are allowed to catch it, and he's just able to kind of carry his momentum forward and just flip it forward there without that being a travel.
Yeah, I think the defender may have a little bit of a gripe there because Levi went into his path when he was running.
Kind of impeded him from being able to make a play.
Yeah, it's kind of if he's there first, then he's allowed to do it. And so it's a heady play by Levi, just kind of boxing out that player. But if you're a defender and you're trying to be aggressive, then that can sometimes be annoying.
Yeah, can't body him, but he can almost kind of position himself in a way to maybe slow down the defender. Is that what you were thinking there?
Yeah. So he got into his path, but he did it before the guy was there. So there's no harm in that. But
it just kind of looks maybe like it looks a little bit bad in terms of, the guy can kind of, again, easily get frustrated thinking maybe he's trying to take him out of the play.
Yep. So one thing I did notice for Chicago on that last offensive point was they were pushing Pavel Giannis downfield as one of the cutters, and I don't know whether he's getting frustrated in the handler role, but he was trying to cut, and it wasn't really working. Like, he wasn't involved in the play, so if they've got to have him near the disc if he's going to be the one making the throws. So again, a wrinkle that they were trying out, but I'm not sure how long they're going to stick with that.
Yeah, you saw him. I mean, we can see him here. You saw it off camera. He was communicating with the team, but yeah, I believe also we seen Trotter and Gallagher kind of touch the disc a lot as well. So yeah, we see maybe those two guys working it a lot. So maybe they are trying to utilize them downfield a little bit more. And so now the Wildfire again. That was Jeff Zhao able to kind of quickly just run down the field, and this guy never caught up to him, and the Wildfire able to answer back. But the AlleyCats had taken a 6-point lead there, again now down to 5, but we'll see if they can just kind of continue that momentum. It's like the Wildfire get a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 points back, and then now the AlleyCats now pulling ahead again. So now let's take a look at the Layout Ultimate Grip Catch of the Half. So we're going to have Jake Fella's layout early in the game here. So I believe he got the D, and then we had the bookends there. And again, he makes the layout catch of the half, and that was the Layout Ultimate Grip Catch of the Half. Layout Ultimate, what the pros wear. Layout Ultimate would like to give out a pair of gloves to a viewer. Tweet at universe_point using the hashtag Layout Ultimate and tell us why you want some gloves, and we will pick a winner in the fourth quarter. So again, now we see the AlleyCats with their usual offensive line now. We've seen kind of that standard O-line play a vast majority of those points. And Lascar able to stay with it and make a great play there. We've seen that throw, as you've mentioned, quite a bit, where just kind of expecting the guy to make the play where it's a little floaty, but whether it's Gross or Brock or Carpenter or Lascar are able to kind of jump up and catch it usually. We see kind of that floaty pass there to the side, and, of course, they're just able to stick with it and make the play. Yeah,
a bit of a misread by Spencer Lascar there. Thought he could jump a little bit higher than maybe he actually could, or maybe he's – I mean, it is the second half, so maybe in the first half he would have that, but he's able to think quickly, recover quickly, and then go and catch it on a layout. So good effort by him.
So one of the things we saw in our last broadcast against the Thunderbirds that hurt the AlleyCats was they scored, I believe it was like 8 or 10 or so points in the first quarter, and they slowed down the rest of the game. Of course, here it's been kind of a steady pace throughout the whole game. I think that's one of the things that's been contributing to the fact that, of course, they're now up 6.
Yeah, some of that is the opponent that you're playing against. The Wildfire haven't really done anything to disrupt their offense or make it hard for them or put them in, like, pressure situations.
Yeah, we talked about that kind of poachy defense they had been playing that wasn't really working.
Yeah.
And that zone they've kind of run a couple times where it seems like whatever they've tried to do I'm sure those are things that they've said, hey, maybe let's try this and see if it works. And really anything they've been trying, as you said, clearly have not been able to disrupt the offense. But now the Wildfire trying to answer again. We kind of see some of the same guys here touching the disc over and over again there. Jeff Zhao able to, now make his presence felt a little bit. And Nick Hutton just with the double team there. And that's one of those ones where you can kind of catch a guy off guard and, disrupt his rhythm there a little bit. And Nick Hutton able to get the hand block. And there's the quick answer. Jake Fella throws to Colin Ringwood. And now the AlleyCats go, I think, take their biggest lead of the game now with a lead of 7.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Again, you see Nick Hutton coming over on that double team, and he anticipates that he's going for that around throw because he's leaving that offensive player, so he knows where that guy's going to be looking. And and right away, quick hands and gets the disc. Yeah,
again, maybe you talked about the timing on that, and just the guy, I think it was Gallagher there that had the disc there and just wasn't able to adjust. And that's the thing with double teams. I think usually what I've seen is when it's set right off of a pull, not always as productive in terms of guys are just kind of able to quickly throw it over the top real quick. Mm-hmm. But it's the double teams where just kind of in the flow of a point, I think I've seen been more productive.
Yeah, so if you're starting right at the beginning and they have 7 seconds to kind of manipulate the mark and move them around and find a space, that's different than when you've had the disc for 3 seconds and then somebody suddenly is coming up to you and you don't have as much time to work your fakes and move the mark.
Yep, again, another excellent point. So now Kyle Cox there with the pull, and the AlleyCats coming out in a little bit of a zone defense maybe here. They got a wall, so I think they're playing man-to-man downfield, and they got a little bit of a wall on the handlers. So definitely trying to take away any deep look, perhaps.
I'd guess that they're trying to force Chicago into playing longer points, lots of throws. When you have this type of a lead, you kind of want to shorten up the number of possessions for the rest of the game, and so they're going to try to make it so that Chicago can't score quickly and get back in this game.
Yeah, and you're right. So they've made several throws here so far, kind of getting frustrated there, you see, with really not many looks downfield. AlleyCats really trying just to take away any sort of big throw, certainly, as you said, and make this point last a while, and I think they've done so far. But now the the Wildfire take a deep look downfield, and they're able to find Pardo, I believe it is, for the score.
Yeah, I think that's still a win for the AlleyCats. They're happy with that. If they can make all of the Chicago offensive points last that long, then they'll be happy. Yeah, again, trying to shorten those possessions, make this make that comeback that much harder.
Yeah, so I think it was maybe about a little under 30 seconds there off the clock, maybe a little bit more. But we saw Alan Gilon there with the assist to Pardo, who's again, that's about I think his third or fourth goal for them, which should put him over 60 puts him over about 50 there, or at least fairly close to that for the season. So definitely puts him, I think, up there in maybe the top 10 or so in terms of goal scorers for the AUDL for this season.
Yeah, there's a fairly large drop-off on the Wildfire roster and when you're looking at goal scorers. So he's a guy that the AlleyCats knew would be a big threat, and the fact that he's still able to score even though the AlleyCats know that he's one of their best scorers is a testament to how good he is as a player.
And I think that's usually maybe what you're going to see, especially with a lot not always a huge gap from the team that leads the AUDL in scoring versus the second or third teams. There's usually not a huge gap. So perhaps if you're going to lead the league in scoring, it's got to be one of those things where you got a lot more than maybe second or third place. So we saw, again, maybe a little bit of a similar look there on defense for the Wildfire. And, again, as you said, one of those defenses that doesn't really seem to be working very much. Cameron Brock's able to just kind of leave his man, and looks like no one really goes with him. And I don't know.
Nice blading throw by Joey Carey. That's kind of his, if he has a signature throw, it's probably the blade. So, yeah, good score by Cameron Brock.
Hand-me-down car. First used but new to you car. First actual new car. When things change, your insurance should too. Visit infarmbureau.com for a free quote or to find your local Indianapolis area agent. Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Stop knocking on wood.
Minnesota Brewing Company for helping make tonight's game
So we're going to see Nick Hutton again with another pull. He's been getting them fairly down there so far today, but we see perhaps the Wildfire here on the end you can't really see, expecting a roller pull, and sure enough, that's what they get. So we saw Weiss there waiting for it and expecting it, and he's able to quickly get the disc started here for the Wildfire, but after that there's sort of a stall here, and now they got to kind of wait for something to develop here. So far the sort of the wall strategy here has kind of worked for the AlleyCats in terms of extending these points, but now we're going to see a look over the top over here to Pardo, who's then able to find Miller there, who's getting an O point here now. And I think, honestly, Weiss is pushing Giannis for most touches today for the Wildfire. He's caught it quite a bit for them on offense.
Yeah, unnecessary throw there at the end. He did have Eric Johnson, but he's got to put a little more touch on that, an OI throw. Because, Eric Johnson was definitely beating his man, but the throw just kind of failed him.
You think this maybe is a time where if they work it downfield a little bit, they might use a timeout? No really need to use a timeout if a guy's that wide open, I guess. Ringwood able to use the field, and I think smartly doesn't force it there. And I think Ringwood expected some sort of contact as the guy ran by him, just kind of similar. I think we saw that earlier with John Jones doing that for the AlleyCats. Not about a yard or two too far away to move it to the center of the field. But, again, playing a little bit loose there. And the AlleyCats now, again, extend their largest lead again now to 8 points.
Yeah.
Sort of a critical time to do that, you would think.
So on the long throw that ended up going up to Colin Ringwood, his guy was probably trailing him by about 10 or 15 yards, and actually it was probably off camera, but he got picked. It wasn't something that should be called because he was not close enough as a defender.
Yeah.
But that was something that happened downfield, so that's created all that space. And then Chicago, a little bit of gamesmanship there on the mark when you take a foul so that your defense can set up.
That's a good point. Where that's probably one where they're moving real quick and they kind of reach out just to grab Ringwood there, and that's again a good point to make.
Yep. So, but I mean, when you're that close to the end zone, and the AlleyCats obviously are able to take advantage just in that small space. It's it becomes easy down there when you have athletes that can get open.
Yeah. First pull here from Zach Zebard, so we'll see that that travels a good distance there. The Wildfire able to again get to the center of the field to Giannis, and he puts up kind of a questionable look there, but you got some height there, and maybe calling a little bit of contact there, even, I don't know, kind of a bit of shoving back and forth it looked like. So Wildfire, I think maybe just saw the matchup there and wanted to make use of that, and now kind of a flipping back and forth there on the mark from John Jones, trying to cut off the strike cut, and the Chicago Wildfire answer right back.
So the long throw, Donovan Triplett had pretty good position. He had the inside position, but he was going up against a guy who's probably close to 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah.
You can't. It's tough to beat that type of height when there's a hanging throw.
Yep.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by the Indiana Ultimate Foundation. The IUF's mission is to promote the growth and development of Ultimate at all levels in the state of Indiana. Visit them online at indianaultimatefoundation.com.
All right, so we got a good crowd here so far today. It looks like, just looking out here in the stands, pretty good weather all day. We're going to see, again, that's a pretty deep pull going this direction. So, again, usual O-line here for the AlleyCats. They quickly send one cutter away and the rest here to the closer side here, the home side, so to speak. We're going to see Cameron Brock. He's going to, looks like he was loading up. He does eventually throw it downfield. Carpenter, ooh. It was going to be hard for him. He kind of had to slow down there towards the end. It was going to be hard for him, I think, to kind of utilize really the little space he had left.
It was a tough angle on the disc. It was fading away from where he was, and when the defender has that inside position, it's tough to get around them.
Yep. So the Wildfire again with a chance here to, I mean, you have to think they get opportunities like this. Pretty much got to make use of just about all of them at this point. So we'll see. Maybe they call. Maybe this is a time for the Wildfire to call a timeout. So we'll see if they do that. A little bit of switching back and forth there. Good communication on D from the AlleyCats. But the D-line here making good work of the disc so far. So maybe you don't want to disrupt that flow, but you see Weiss there, again, getting some touches cutting for the D-line as well as the O-line. But I think they're, of course, down a few players today, so going to have some points where guys are playing both ways. But, I mean, I'd have to think, he's definitely leading the team in touches today. He doesn't even. It seems to me like he seems like he's not necessarily cutting far downfield. He's just kind of making quick cuts in and out. He just, as soon as he gets downfield, I don't know if that's just them allowing him to do that, but we're not even really seeing so much cuts from the back. We're just seeing cuts from him.
Yep. But again, this is working into the AlleyCats' favor. They want them to take a lot of throws. They're fine with long points for Chicago's just in general.
But yeah, as you said, a lot of time coming off the clock here on this 1 point. I think it's been well over a minute now.
Some sort of penalty against Chicago. They're moving back 10 yards.
Yeah, and ref, I think, communicating, maybe not wanting them to talk so much to him. And now the Wildfire, again, a lot of time coming off the clock here, as you mentioned. I think we're getting up to about 2.5 minutes now off the clock on this 1 point, which, again, as you said, definitely obviously favors the AlleyCats right now. So if they're able to maybe get a turnover here, that's going to be, as you see there, that's going to hurt a lot. And now the AlleyCats able to work the give-go. They have two guys just sprinting downfield. Plu's just able to float it up to where no one has any chance for the Wildfire, and that's got to be
that's a bit of a backbreaker.
Yeah,
there.
A bit of a backbreaker, as you said. Almost, 3 minutes off the clock, and then a quick score there. Actually, Joey Carey there with the throw, not Keenan Plu. And, again, AlleyCats now maintain that 8-point lead.
Yeah, we had a little bit different angle of the field there, but you saw a lot of Chicago players immediately go down with their hands on their knees, just looking completely worn out. None of those guys are able to play in this next point.
Well, wasn't a Callahan there, but if either team gets a Callahan here in the remaining 13 minutes or so we have in today's game, 5 Ultimate will offer a 10% discount from their store for the next 24 hours. If a Callahan happens, we will be giving the code and share it with our viewers. Thank you, 5 Ultimate. Not just for giving discounts, but also for their amazing daywalkers that on a day like today where there's just a little breeze, it feels good to wear them. I'm honestly, ever since I got my daywalker, I'm going to be honest, I wear it quite a bit, and it's pretty great. So if you're out there and you're listening right now, again, any Ultimate person you know in your life would love some 5 Ultimate gear, I'm sure.
It looks good on you. I'm a little jealous. I don't have one personally, but I may need to get one.
Yeah. So the AlleyCats there, again, a little bit loose on defense, and the Wildfire able to find their leading goal scorer, Pardo, again for another goal here. So he was a little bit quiet there in the first half, but I think that's about his third or fourth score here this quarter. Again, you know, I think the AlleyCats, again, have just, you know, done a good job here of, you know, again, kind of changed up their strategy a little bit, trying to make those points longer. And, you know, again, they're throwing that same O-line back out there and really just trying to, I think, maintain consistency. And at this point, it's working for them.
Yeah, I think if you're the coach of the AlleyCats right now, you're talking to your offensive line and telling them 34 seconds left on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
At worst, we just don't score.
Yeah.
So if we score, that's great, but we're not going to get a turnover with any sort of time left where we can let them score before the end of this quarter.
Yep. So they went +3, I think, in the first quarter, +1 in the second quarter, and now that puts them at +3, I think, so far in the third quarter. So they've outscored the Wildfire every quarter here, and if they're able to just, again, Wildfire certainly are not going to get 3 goals back in this amount of time, but as you said, the AlleyCats probably just trying to really not necessarily use the clock in terms of if there's a chance there, they're going to take it. But, you know, again, seems like the Wildfire are sort of letting guys go deep and switching men, which is allowing these free unders here we're seeing to pretty much just happen over and over again. The last second there, as you said, at worst, the AlleyCats weren't going to give up a score, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I think Aaron Schwartz didn't realize there were probably 4 or 5 seconds. Could have gotten 2 more throws in, but he throws up the hammer, and the AlleyCats aren't able to come down with it.
Yep. So a good quarter there for the AlleyCats, but we're going to take a quick break. You are watching the Chicago Wildfire versus the Indianapolis AlleyCats on UniversePointProductions.com, presented by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance.
Cheap furniture. Nice game system. New job. Steady girlfriend. Wedding. Dog that serves as a practice child. Little kid. Little kids. Oh. Big kids. Big changes. So, once a year, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance checks to see if we're paying too much or covered too little.
Find an agent and stop knocking on wood.
All right, here we have the winner of the Layout Ultimate Gloves is Robbie Kimes. Hope I'm saying that name right there. Congratulations and enjoy the Layout Gloves. Layout Ultimate, what the pros wear. All right, so we're here in the final quarter of play. AlleyCats up by 7 here, and again, you know, we see AlleyCats here in their standard big, huge huddle, getting everybody just hyped up for this last quarter. Same thing with the Wildfire. Certainly less guys, but again, I mean, it's just one of those things where I know I'm certainly not going to start to talk about how this game's over because, and I'm sure the AlleyCats are saying the same thing.
Yeah, their goal will be probably to win this quarter again.
Yeah.
So they've had some tough endings to some of these games that they've played earlier in the year, some close games that they've just barely missed. So they know they need to get better at finishing strong, and this will be a good opportunity for them to do that.
Yep. All right, we have a bit of a treat here. Our producer, Heath Shanahan, the amazing, wonderful man behind the production, wants to say a few words. What do you got for us, Heath?
Well, you were talking earlier about 5 Ultimate, and, you know, usually they have a bunch of crazy patriotic designs for the 4th of July.
Yeah.
But this year, you know, due to the current political climate, you know, they decided to go in a new direction with a line of protest gear. So this week's giveaway item for 5 Ultimate is actually going to be what they're calling the Future is Female Gun Show Tank. So we want you to tweet at universe_point and tell us why you want the tank using the hashtag HuckHate. So that's HuckHate to win the tank. And you can also shop the full 5 Ultimate Independence Day line at store.5ultimate.com, and then we'll select a winner of the tank before the end of the game. So, of course, thank you, as always, to 5 Ultimate.
All right. Always good to, this is a time of the year where you never know what's going to happen. You're going to see crazy giveaways from some of these places, and we obviously appreciate 5 Ultimate, coming along with us on this production. And, again, as I said, their gear is, it's great stuff. So, we appreciate them having that for us. So, again, check that out. Certainly looking forward to seeing your tweets. So we see here a quick look here. Giannis is going to look for Pardo deep. We know they're going to have to get some quick scores, and that's interesting play there.
Yeah, so it looked like the Chicago offensive player was more worried about boxing out Jake Fella than actually going for the disc. And then
it looks like both of them. Yeah, I mean, we're going to see it here. Fella gets around him, and then I don't know what he's trying to do, and I don't know. Wildfire player didn't seem too happy, but I'm not really sure. A bit of an interesting play there.
Yeah, I don't think that's just one of those things that happens.
Yeah.
Little contact when the disc is high up in the air is going to happen no matter what, unless you're just not trying. But I don't think there's any ill will there.
No. So again, Pardo with the score, and you got to imagine maybe the Wildfire are going to be trying to get some quick scores like that throughout the rest of the game.
Yep, that's got to be their game plan going forward, is to score quickly and score often. Got to apply some pressure on defense. It's got to be that, if anything, they may throw in some things like some rollers or some things out of the sidelines where you're forcing the offense to either score quickly or to turn it over.
All right, and we got an update. So I'm just seeing here, it looks like Madison gets the win over Minnesota. Relatively, this is about the second game in a row, I think, that Madison has held their team to a relatively low score. I know they held Detroit to just like a league record 9 points a couple games ago. Looks like they defeat Minnesota 21-13, so they take over first place here. As we know, the AlleyCats here are they're certainly not or at least we like to think they're not going to be scoreboard watching, but we know they're fighting for that third and final playoff spot. Going to have to get a lot of help from whoever Pittsburgh's playing each game. But we know Pittsburgh got a win today over Detroit, and so that's, again, certainly not what the AlleyCats need, but we talked earlier about the improvement that they're focusing on more than anything else. Certainly, I think we've seen quite a bit of improvement so far today, and a little bit of missed timing there from Rick Gross, perhaps, and then Weiss, who's been touching the disc quite a bit. I think that's one of his first few goals, actually, despite all the touches he's had today.
Yeah, Rick Gross going up for the disc a little early. He can jump out of the gym or off. We're not in a gym, but he can jump really high.
Yes,
and
for sure.
So some of those times, even when the disc is really high, he thinks he can go get it. But again, he's got to do that because he's got the offensive player right behind him, and it's bending down towards the offensive player, so they have the advantage. So you have to go early.
Yeah, and sometimes you can almost get the offensive player to maybe jump a little bit too soon, but I think the guy was thinking, okay, I'm probably not going to out-jump him, so hopefully he misses it, and of course he did there.
Yep.
So at first I was thinking, okay, Rick Gross was playing defense there, but then I realized, of course, that was a break for Chicago, but the AlleyCats keep out the same O-line now. So up 5. So again, as we talked about, they get the quick score, they get the quick break, so with just 1 minute off the clock, they're able to cut the lead from 7 to 5. And so the AlleyCats really are looking to, I'm sure, just take it nice and easy into the end zone here. And plenty of space there for Keenan Plew, and he gets the score. So I think that's his first score here today. Rick Gross is putting up some stats, as I think, at least on my stats I'm keeping here, it looks like he's got about 4 assists and 3 goals so far. And we talked, one of the things I saw earlier when that last game I think they had, it was against Detroit. Not even just the AlleyCats talking about it, but I saw some talk out there in the ultimate world about Rick Gross putting his case for maybe MVP. You think the record of the AlleyCats kind of hurts his chances a little bit?
Yeah, I'd say he's definitely an MVP candidate for this team. He's probably the most valuable player on this team.
Yeah.
Him and some other guys that you know, Travis Carpenter, Keenan Plew. Definitely in the discussion, but he's done so much for this team this year, and even though the record hasn't shown it,
Yeah.
He's been a huge factor in all of their wins and even keeping games close.
Well, and of course, one of the things that it's just speaks for itself and somewhat almost outweighs again the record is we know that AUDL had put out a post about how he's leading the league with a ginormous plus-minus of 65, which is just, again, absolutely crazy. So we see there, again, another roller pull out of bounds for the AlleyCats. We know that, as we talked about, maybe trying to extend these points here a little bit. So a little bit of a zone look here for the AlleyCats, playing obviously trying to find players downfield to go a little bit more man-to-man. But we see Levi Jacobs there trying to take away just really anything up the field. But, of course, as I say that, Wildfire get a few throws there to Johnson and Pardo. And, again, Gallagher getting fair share of touches today. So we've seen guys like Pardo, Gallagher, again, even Trotter, making their case for, perhaps the key players on offense today as well. But, of course, we know Weiss has gotten plenty of touches. And then, of course, puts it out there to space. And another sort of tight throw there. But they've been looking for Johnson quite a bit in the end zone tonight.
Yeah. Again, he seems comfortable out here. He's familiar with the field. Without this wind and with his athleticism, he's going to be a threat at all places on the field. And, yeah, you can see Levi giving a good effort on D. But, yeah, Eric Johnson able to come down with it.
Today's broadcast is sponsored by Dr. John Rimple and Health Zone Chiropractic. Proud to support and provide peak performance for Ultimate in Central Indiana. Visit us online at healthzonechiro.net. That's healthzonechiro.net.
All right, so again, Wildfire able to get it back within 5. But this O-line here, great effort there. They're going to need to make some plays, you'd like to think, on defense. But AlleyCats, again, making some good use of the free space they're finding. A nice throw across the field there from Brock. Again, take the nice, easy throw back to him. AlleyCats doing a good job today of swinging the disc there, getting it off the sideline. Carpenter looking for some more disc space, but as he looks downfield, he sees Spencer Loskar open in the end zone.
Yeah, great patience once again. At this point in the game with the shortened roster for the Wildfire, their legs are hurting.
Definitely seems like they're giving up a lot of, at least they're very content to try to not give up scores, but at the same time also give up plenty of space for undercuts.
Yeah, so they can just work those unders all day,
yeah,
and or all night, and work it right into the end zone.
So again, AlleyCats haven't ever since they went up by about 7 or 8, haven't really extended the lead more past that. But of course, if they're able to kind of trade back and forth, I think very rarely, especially in Ultimate, do I see, especially now in the AUDL where you have 4 12-minute quarters, which certainly seems like a lot longer than obviously just 48 minutes, and we know that the game lasts longer than anyway. But my point is that very often, we don't see very often where teams are just able to go point after point after point and win by like 15, 20, 25 points. That very rarely happens. So I'm about a 6 to 7, 8, 9, anywhere in that area win. I mean, that's got to feel like a pretty good win, you think?
Yeah, in this league, that's a fairly dominant win. Any team that has that will be happy with their effort.
Yeah, again, you certainly want to, as you said, one of the keys, I think, more than anything in this quarter is the AlleyCats want to win the quarter, which I think at this point the Wildfire are +2 in the quarter. So the AlleyCats are -2. And I think the Wildfire got it first. So obviously that's in their favor. But again, if you can just win every quarter, obviously you're going to win the game. So I think that's one of the things where, make sure they don't give up a lot of easy turnovers, don't give the disc away, make sure they're being consistent on offense.
DiscStore.com is a proud supporter and sponsor of this broadcast. Pick up your next disc from DiscStore.com. DiscStore.com provides the best prices on team jerseys guaranteed. Ask about the AUDL discount at DiscStore.com.
So we got a 26-21 score here in favor of the Indianapolis AlleyCats. Again, it's cooled down here just a little bit as the lights are coming on here at Roncalli Stadium here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Plu there was waiting for it, wanted to throw it, and great huck downfield to Rick Gross. So one of the few times today where the AlleyCats have actually scored fairly quickly.
Yeah, Rick Gross looked determined to beat his man down the field, and again, with the AlleyCats' advantage of total number of players playing today, it was a good strategy because he beat his guy by 5 yards, and Keenan's able to put the disc down the field pretty accurately.
And so what do you think? So you saw there, it was almost like he was gearing up to throw it a couple times. I don't know if he maybe thought about not throwing it and then eventually threw it, but again, as we talked about earlier, maybe the fact that it's a longer field helps him in terms of, usually maybe you see a guy and if he's been cutting downfield for a while, you don't throw it, but maybe here you do.
Yeah, again, with the longer field, as you say, there's a little bit more time for you to make that decision, and in the AUDL, you usually have guys that can put the disc pretty far out. So some things that you run to at the lower levels, if somebody's already 40 yards down the field, then you don't want to be throwing it because there's you'd have to get the disc there really quick for it to be effective.
Yes.
And but guys in this league can make those throws and can get it there pretty quickly.
So not necessarily a very deep pull, but nonetheless the Wildfire aren't able to get set up very quickly. But we're going to see a contact foul there on the mark from Levi Jacobs, so the Wildfire move up even further. So without having completed a throw, they start just 35 yards out and quickly working it back and forth here. Find Giannis there on the side. Was looking downfield, but again decided not to throw it. Again, working it downfield. We saw Johnson coming across the field there, but a couple of cuts in the same space looked like it maybe blocked him off. And then we find Pardo again for another score for the Wildfire.
Yeah, the Wildfire, that was a little bit more of what we were expecting, where you have Pavel Giannis taking over and going every other to work it all the way down in the end zone line, and then he swings it around, and then he gets a quick lefty here to Pardo, who seems to be the main guy scoring.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Zigzag Ultimate. Zigzag Ultimate runs youth camps and adult clinics in Grand Rapids, Michigan, offering both overnight and day camp options. Campers will be coached by some of the best players in the world, including the AlleyCats' own Travis Carpenter. Find out more at zigzagultimate.com. So just under 8 minutes left here in the game, and again, the AlleyCats have just been holding steadfast here so far in the fourth quarter, not really except that one break the Wildfire got, haven't let them get any closer. So we're again see Keenan Plu here catch the pull, center it to Joey Carey, who I think he maybe not have like a lot of stats, but I think Joey Carey has done a good job in terms of he's had a very efficient game today.
Yeah, he's definitely not had some of those questionable turnovers that we've seen every once in a while. He's been consistent. He's been a part of the offense and good flow. So good game for him overall.
Yeah, and again, I know that what I like to think is if you can get 7 players out there that they might not touch it a lot, but they have a perfect throwing and a perfect catching percentage. If you can get 7 guys out there like that, that's what you want. Like another nice catch there, as we see from Rick Gross. You'll see here Cameron Brock with yet another assist. I think that's I know it's at least 6 assists for him today, which I think we bring it up every broadcast, and I'll bring it up again. He's just one of those things where we know he's, again, always a threat to score, but one of those players that takes pride in the fact that he wants to continue to work on his throwing game.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that was one of his more impressive throws, though.
No.
He did not deserve
No.
assist. And I think he would
point.
probably admit that.
Yes.
A little bit of a questionable decision, and it probably didn't come out the way he wanted it to. But when you're throwing it to Rick Gross, I guess it's always a good decision.
Yeah. All right, so I think we're going to get another pull out of bounds here. No, it looks like they're going to set it up on the sideline here. Actually landed in, or no, yes, did land out. I was pretty sure about that. So the Wildfire here are going to move it to midfield here.
Looks like they had a split stack called, but then they're immediately firing out of that and deciding to go vertical stack.
Yeah, so again, seen that play there from a few times from them. They didn't hit Pardo, but they more so, I think, than just sending that person deep. They've had that person come under. Perhaps they were looking for a deep shot right away. As you said, there was probably some sort of communication where they had a play call. And again, another throw deep there from Giannis, who's able to hit Johnson. And Johnson there. We've had, again, seen a lot of action from Weiss, a lot of action from Johnson, and then Pardo making, again, maybe not as many touches, but he has the goals at least to show for it.
Yeah. Eric Johnson in the end zone is tough to match up against, and defenders were there, but, again, they were still sprinting, whereas he was able to slow himself and get into a jump, so he was able to attack it at a high point where the defenders just couldn't get to.
Yes. We certainly saw plays like that from him when he was, playing in an AlleyCats uniform. But that's definitely, as you said, one of the things from him is he's able to really make use of the fact that he's got a pretty good vertical. He's able to make use of really, whether he has space or not in the end zone, he's always going to attack it with intensity. That's definitely something that I know I've seen from him throughout his sort of ultimate career here. And, of course, also in Chicago now, the last couple seasons. So we see 3 handlers now for the AlleyCats, and then they're going to try to answer with a huck of their own, and that's going to go out of bounds. So, I mean, I don't know, with just under 7 minutes here, if the Wildfire are able to get it here and score, they're going to have an opportunity again to get it within 4, which, now we're going to see, I think, a timeout here from the Wildfire, yes. So, D-line's been putting in some good work, I think, for the Wildfire this quarter, so probably a good timeout call there. Again, I think perhaps we're thinking we've seen Giannis with a couple hucks today, or this quarter at least, so maybe that's in the back of the minds of the AlleyCats right now as they come out on defense. Yeah,
I'd say that they're definitely probably looking for that right now. No quick scores. On the reverse, that turnover, we're probably getting a little too comfortable at this point with the lead. The AlleyCats are, where they're still up by 5, but that's probably not Spencer's throw there. He's definitely improved his throws, but he's got to look that one off and then continue it down the field.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you only have 7 seconds, so sometimes it's just very quick thoughts, but it's almost you got to kind of in the back of your head maybe think, I'm just going to take the smart throw here.
Yep. It's got to be situational where, again, if they're down and they need to score a lot, then, yeah, that's the throw that he should make. But when you've got the lead and you're wanting to milk the clock a little bit, anything that's going to be less than a 95% throw at that point should be questioned and probably not taken.
Yes. So immediately we're going to see a double team here from Cox and Lost Guard there on that's got to be Giannis down there. Yep, it is. So you imagine definitely him taking the disc right now. So I think we're going to maybe see him be, as you can see there, a little bit more vocal, trying to take over a little bit on the offensive side, at least from the handling perspective. And AlleyCats got him in a fairly good position here, though, in terms of putting a little bit of pressure on. And kind of get him into maybe you think the wind affected that throw a little bit?
I'm not sure. It's just one of those forehands that blades a little bit earlier than thrower once. Couldn't get it flat to float to space and just comes in short.
Yeah, I think you got to get plenty of I/O on that, and maybe it's not going to go as far. So we see another, of course, Another turnover and another quick look to Pardo there. I think that was Giannis to Pardo again. So, again, anytime the Wildfire get that opportunity, I don't know if there's maybe a call they have on the field there, or that's just something they're used to where, we just saw him quickly look up, see Pardo going downfield, and just immediately he's going to throw that.
Yeah, that's his first look when he's picking up the disc is, do I have anyone going deep? Can I put this big backhand to space? And right there you saw he could, and he did.
So even though they switched and put the offensive line out there, still sort of technically a break there in terms of, they've now gotten a couple of points here in a row. The Wildfire are +3 this quarter. So now, if you look at it, just based on time, they're +3. 6 minutes have gone off, so if they get another +3, they're within 1. So certainly you would think, just based on that, there's still time left to where if they just kind of keep it up, they can make something happen.
Yeah, they're definitely still in this game. The last point we saw 2 questionable turnovers. Spencer and Nick Hutton, not to call them out, but in this type of situation, when you have this lead and you're trying to keep the lead, you've got to make good decisions, and both of them probably were second-guessing that after the fact.
So Cameron Brock able to stay in bounds. It's kind of weird how, especially even in Ultimate like other sports, it's almost like you just kind of know where you are in the field at points in time. You saw there he kind of knew he was just barely still in bounds. He didn't have to kind of move back in. But, that's just kind of like athletes, out there kind of just knowing the field naturally. Definitely saw a very tight mark. We saw Vakarov just basically leaning over Carey on the mark. And so able to
probably
get some yards there.
The biggest mismatch size-wise that we could have on the field right now. With the shortest alley cat versus the tallest Wildfire player.
Yeah, so he's definitely trying to make – it's again. He's really trying to make a play right now, but it's definitely going in the AlleyCats' favor right now. I think he's going to have to back off and try to make use of his size, but we saw that Joey Carey there. That's one of those like, hey, I know you're taller than me, but I'm still going to make this throw sort of plays. And, AlleyCats able to get a much-needed score. And I think about a minute 15 or so seconds went off the clock there. And AlleyCats now up 5. What are your thoughts? You look like you're thinking something.
Just some of these throws. This is part of why the AlleyCats have not done well in some of these close games is that the decision making there.
Even though it worked,
it's the type of thing that's not repeatable all the time. So it's you're happy that you scored, but that's something that you really needed to discuss as a team and as a coach and say, hey, that's not the throw that we want in that situation. It hung for too long, and Cameron came down with it. Cameron Brock came down with it, but it's just a questionable decision that you don't need at this point.
A little bit of I think maybe miscommunication in terms of ref didn't say they were quite ready just yet. So go back and get ready for the pull again from Cox. And so now I got just under 5 minutes here left in the game. AlleyCats up 5. So again, pretty tall task here for the Wildfire though. Haven't been able to push it within 3 here since I think about the first half, at least the start of the second half at least. So now we'll see. Maybe AlleyCats call a timeout here. Just over 4 minutes left, 2 timeouts left. Of course, the D-line hasn't gotten a whole lot of action here in the last few minutes, so definitely fairly fresh. Ooh, same throw there from both teams. That was a little bit more chance of being completed there, but both strike throws that just kind of got away from the player. So we'll see if the Wildfire are going to try to score here fairly quickly. But we have another player down here. That's Tommy Gallagher, who's done a lot of work for them on offense so far today. So we're again also still going to hope he's okay. Looks like he's going to stay in the game. Maybe just a little bit of a quick cramp here.
I'm guessing his argument here is that it was caused by the defense, so he thinks he should be able to stay. I'm not sure what the actual ruling is, but there's a discussion with the refs about whether he can stay on the field or not.
Yeah, I think it's if they have to stop play for an injury, they're going to come out. But of course, I think they're he's going to have to come off.
And one thing that may have been an option is if the AlleyCat defender knew that he stepped on him, he could say, "Yeah, that was a foul," and maybe that would supersede the actual
if he
call,
calls foul there and allow him to sort of weirdly use the integrity rule to let him stay in the game. But
that's probably not something you're thinking about on the field.
No, definitely not. But again, a good point to make. So again, I think we're going to need to see a score here fairly quickly from the Wildfire if they're going to make something happen here in the last 4 minutes or so. We've seen that cut there from Giannis there where he basically forces the defender out of the area. Sorry there. I was trying to finish my point, but at the same time be happy and fairly impressed with that play there from Jake Fella. So Jake Fella, again, I think he's definitely led the team in D's today.
That would have been a candidate for our catch of the game.
That would have been the catch of the game because I'm looking at it where at the start I'm thinking no, and then I'm like, okay, as you're seeing the throw develop, you're like, wow, that was an absolutely great look. And then, just able to peel off his man and, again, just be kind of in the right place at the right time, but also being able to see the field. But, yeah. Now that the play is stopped here, I think we're going to get a timeout from the AlleyCats. So, yeah, AlleyCats taking a timeout, trying to sort of slow down the, pace here maybe. But, of course, kind of gone back and forth here a little bit, which, as you said, still favors the AlleyCats.
Yeah. So I think we're getting word that was actually a timeout by the Wildfire.
I was thinking that. I was like, I don't think if you turn it over, I don't think you can call timeout, right?
Yeah. Well, it would probably depend on when the disc actually coming in. But, so the Wildfire obviously bring it up to the front of the end zone and call a timeout. They're wanting to get the right guys on the field. They know this is crunch time.
Yes.
They know they got to get their offensive weapons out there. This is it's do or die time.
So what are their thoughts? If they get a score here, I mean, as you said, if you try to do some sort of crazy defense to force a turnover, you're still probably going to, allow a lot of free space. So, I mean, what's it going to take for a team to try to score try to close a 5-point gap here in the last 3 minutes?
I think at some point you've got to just try to take away the unders and let them go deep. So at that point you're playing high-risk throws. You're hoping that they hang it up a little bit, and you're hoping that you can get a turn that way, but you're either letting them score quickly or else you're going to get a D based on a hanging throw.
Yeah, you're right, because, again, obviously if they're going to try to, again, give up free space or force them under, the AlleyCats are just going to waste a bunch of time, as they have done a few times. So, yeah, I think that's a great point to make. It seems to me like if they score here, that's what they're going to have to do. So, again, another look to Pardo in the end zone, but that one goes out of bounds, and AlleyCats probably going to take their time here. Only got about 20 seconds to check it in.
That's a perfect example of one of those on-the-line, up-the-line throws that we talk with a small margin of error where he didn't miss by much, but it was just a few feet down or outside, so the offensive player never had a shot at it.
And the AlleyCats are able to take it where the throw was released because it never came inbounds, and now looks like are they going to call? No, there's a call on the field here.
Looks like a timeout. Maybe
yeah, we are going to have a timeout. So the AlleyCats, again, you thought maybe they would just kind of let the flow keep going, but they're gonna put their O-line out here, and looks like it's definitely in their favor right now. But obviously the AlleyCats are just always thinking improvement, and 1 minute 54 seconds left here. AlleyCats up 5. Again, going to look for just perfect execution here.
Yeah, in a game like this where you have a little bit of a lead, it's good time to practice end-of-game situations because you're going to have this where you don't have the 5-goal lead, but you're trying to milk the clock out.
So we have a winner here. The winner of the 5 Ultimate Future is Female Tank is Jack Shanahan. Congratulations and enjoy the sweet swag from 5 Ultimate. So again, we're coming out of the timeout here. A couple minutes left here. We know the AlleyCats had to have a win here today. Looks like it's in their favor, but again, they're not going to really try to let up until the game is completely over. Again, we see a little bit of a different. We got defenders on all sides here for on both sides of the stack there for the Wildfire. Now they release off. Got some fireworks, sounds like, going off there in the background. We know it's, again, 4th of July coming up here next week. And now the AlleyCats staying patient. Kind of like what we talked about here. Some of the defenders here are playing a little bit off. Doesn't look like they're trying to take away too much. Great layout there to preserve the point there from Rick Gross. We have a contact downfield there. So AlleyCats are contact.
Contact foul against Indianapolis.
Oh, contact on the Wildfire player from an Indianapolis player. So they lose yards, but not hurting the AlleyCats terribly there as we're under a minute. And now they take the opportunity to score, and AlleyCats go up 6 there. Only puts them at -1 for the quarter, which basically just means, with the Wildfire starting with the disc, it hasn't exactly been that way, but really have just been going back and forth just about in terms of, what's kind of happened overall with the score.
Yeah, AlleyCats offense there taking, I think it was a minute plus after that timeout to get them on the field. Just slowly swinging it around until they knew that they had a 100% throw right to Keenan Plew in the end zone.
But overall, 30 points for the AlleyCats scored today. Usually that's a pretty good number for them.
Yeah, and again, without much wind, you're going to see higher scoring games, but the AlleyCats have had pretty good offense tonight, and they'll be happy with that 30 number.
Yeah, so they've been able to kind of keep a consistent scoring, in terms of, I guess, time they've had in between points. And just kind of looking at it here, looks like this is just about the only the second time they've reached 30 points this season. In both instances, they have won the game. They beat Detroit 32-23 earlier this season, and now 30-24 here against the Wildfire. So here, again, we got about just under 30 seconds left. I'm probably not going to see him put up maybe 30 points against the Radicals. I don't know. If I'd venture to see if the Radicals have ever given up 30 points in a game. I don't know. I know they've played some tougher opponents. They had that game against Dallas earlier this year, I think, but I don't know what the score was there.
Yeah, definitely not common in this conference, but yeah, the clock runs out there with the AlleyCats holding the disc.
All right, well, that is going to at least do it for the play on the field. We're going to take a quick break here. You've been watching the Chicago Wildfire versus the Indianapolis AlleyCats on UniversePointProductions.com, presented by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance.
First apartment. Dog named Bella. Boyfriend, TJ. With the sweet ride and the bad secrets. Exit TJ. Hey, it's Eric. Wedding, Eric Jr., new house. Luckily, once a year, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance checks to see if we're paying too much or cover too little.
Find an agent and stop knocking on wood.
So now let's take a look at our BE Ultimate Better Than Ever Play the Game. We have Joey Carey going to Spencer Lascar. It wasn't so much what happened on the play, but much that the AlleyCats went up 8 here. It was a long point, and then the AlleyCats really never looked back from there and end up winning by 6. That was our BE Ultimate, better than ever play the game. BE Ultimate, putting a different spin on Ultimate apparel by focusing on high-performance fabrics, quality workmanship, and rapid turnaround time. They are Ultimate players, making Ultimate gear for the Ultimate community. Visit their website at beultimate.com. So again, we've seen the AlleyCats kind of maybe go against their MO, consistently hold a lead. They went up by about 5 or 6 early in the game. Fell back to only a 3-point lead, kind of go up by 6 or 7, then fall back to about 5, go up 8, and then kind of consistently held that. So while it's hard to kind of win, we said more than 6, I think they take away the fact that, Saul, again, a bunch of players contribute. We talked about certain players, Cameron Brock, again, getting, playing of assists and goals. Rick Gross, usually getting, both assists and goals, as we've seen from him plenty. But what are some of the things that sort of stuck out for you from today for the AlleyCats?
Getting that lead early and then just keeping it throughout the game was huge for them. They've kind of gone back and forth where they've gotten leads, given them up, or they've gotten down early and then had to come back late in games. But being able to consistently stay up, at least with a healthy margin throughout the game, was big for them. One thing that I did see was that when the game was getting a little closer, when it was within 3 or 4 at the end, the AlleyCats have to make better decisions in those scenarios. Against a better team, that will bite them at the end of games. So they've got to appreciate the disc, cherish the disc, and make sure that they're making good decisions at the end of games. But overall, they've got to be really happy with the way they played today.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we know that, just looking at their schedule, they have, 3 games left. They're going to have a long break here until they play again. But they're going to have some help along the way. But, obviously, I always, enjoy seeing Ultimate. I always enjoy playing Ultimate, especially, and now I've always enjoyed being up here, in the booth. It's been fun, working with you for the first time. But, I think the AlleyCats, the way they're looking at it is, again, there's always, anytime you get a chance to go out there, it's always a chance to improve, and getting to see a lot of, younger players, really bodes well for their future. And that's, again, something to really look at as a positive for them. Yeah,
they're not only looking for this season, but looking forward to seasons in the future. So whatever they can do this year, it's not really in their control right now. They've got to win out to really have a chance.
Yeah.
So that's probably their goal right now. But even if they at some point are knocked out of playoff contention, they're still going to play those games and try to get better.
Yeah, and that's one thing for me is I'm honestly this to me is just as much professional as really anything else. I know that maybe a lot of people don't look at it that way, but I know that you see too often in sports teams just kind of they're like, well, we're not in the playoffs. We got this, that, and the other. And sure, there are not some of the things that you'll see in other sports that are a part of the game outside of it. But, again, as I said, anytime you have an opportunity to go out there and play, you want to play your best, whether you're in the playoffs or you're mathematically eliminated or not. And that's something that I think the AlleyCats, took pride in tonight. And that's something that, as a fan of Ultimate, not necessarily just even whether it's the AlleyCats or someone else, but just a fan of Ultimate, I love seeing teams go out there and play like that.
Yeah, there's no advantage to tanking in this league, so
yeah,
they want to win every single time they're going out there. They're not playing for a draft position or anything like that.
Yeah.
But they also have some pride, so they every time they step on the field, they want to win.
Yes. All right. We thank everybody for listening. It's always been fun. This is for listening in. Thanks for watching the game here. We always love being a part of Universe Point Productions. Our next broadcast will be a couple weeks here, Friday, July 14th, as the Minnesota Wind Chill come to town for the Cats' last home game. We have all the action right here on UniversePointProductions.com, presented by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance.
We would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Today's broadcast is presented by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Find your local Marion County agent at infarmbureau.com. Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Stop knocking on wood. Today's broadcast is also brought to you in part by Health Zone Chiropractic. Enter the zone of peak performance and all-around great health. 5 Ultimate, supporting Ultimate from the end zone to the dance floor. Disc Store, offering the best service and best price on Ultimate gear guaranteed. BE Ultimate, Ultimate players making Ultimate gear for the Ultimate community. Layout Ultimate, the most durable Ultimate gloves. Layout Ultimate, what the pros wear. Indiana Ultimate Foundation, supporting Ultimate at all levels in the state of Indiana. And of course, the Indianapolis AlleyCats.